Love those sirens. All right, then, Flaminpit Show Part 2. Once again, want to give a shout out to Mr. Bangtown Productions, Farline Randall, for creating me the new theme song, because I love those sirens. They're hot. So you still doing good back there, John?
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing good out here. So, Part 2 Flaminpit today, I have Miss Tamara Rose Campbell. And you know, I've had some people that, I mean, you come back twice in a row. I mean, yes! You know, it's like, oh, I get to have her back again. And we're having another big event. So this time, she's here to talk about the World AIDS Day, and you have a couple events coming up. Yes. So welcome back.
Thank you.
And let's talk about which one you want to talk about first.
We'll talk about the one that is for the general public. It's a fundraiser for the organization called Your Center, who does a lot of work in the community around HIV and AIDS. We do workshops, we do HIV testing and counseling, we do case management and therapy, of course, sex therapy. Yeah. And we
I get in trouble when I talk about it.
I know it. And we do a lot of work with the churches around the Genesee County area. We work with 70 churches across 9 denominations, and we go into them. The churches, yes.
You get to go up in there and talk about sex?
Yes, talking about HIV and AIDS. Some of the churches even allow us to do condom demonstrations. So, yes.
Do the little old ladies be like,
it's, you know what? Yeah, sometimes, but you know, they have been really, really supportive of the work that we try to do. So we are hosting our annual event, and it's called the Red Ribbon Hero Event, and it's in conjunction with Monday Manna, which is an organization out of the University of Michigan. Okay. And so we're honoring people in the community who have contributed to the field of HIV and AIDS. And it's going to take place December 6th, and it's at the University of Michigan in the Kiva Theater. And it's a $10 donation, and it's from 6 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. And we really, really want a lot of people to come out and support this event. We have a fantastic evening that's going to be planned. And again, it's a fundraiser because all the services that Your Center provides are free. So we want to be able to keep these services going in our community.
Right. Yeah. So now, when you say in conjunction with, what is it, Monday Manna?
Yes.
Now, are you guys all go work with like the health department? Because some people may not know you as personal person that they can go to. They may have to go to the health department. Now, would they get the same services from that the health department if they come with your group?
No, we're a little bit different from the health department. The health department will, basically just provide the testing, HIV testing or sexually transmitted infection testing. That is one service that Your Center does not offer, but we do HIV testing for free. And so if someone goes to the health department, they can get an HIV test, but in terms of case management or, the counseling, mental health piece, they will refer them to an organization like Your Center. And it's interesting because Your Center has been around for 18 years in the community.
Right. Yeah. Now, Your Center is over by the Y. It's
not. No, that's not Your Center.
Oh,
that's okay.
Where's Your Center?
Originally, we started off
Your Center.
See? Originally, we started off on North Saginaw, right across from the old Hamilton Health Clinic on Saginaw and Myrtle. But now we're actually at G3500 Flushing Road in the Diplomat Professional Center, like right across from Legendary.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Because I don't know, what is that? That's the Women's Center on 3rd, isn't it? It's like, it's a women's center. So that when I kept seeing Your Center, that's the only thing I could think of because I didn't know where it was. So I'm thinking I know where it is, but then I don't know where it is.
No, we're on Flushing
So
Road.
Your Center, what does Your stand for something?
No, actually, the executive director, when she decided to open up the organization, she actually surveyed the community and asked them what type of services they wanted, what type of services that they needed, so that she could make sure she was providing services that the community want. And so because the services and the the agency was for the community, she entitled it Your Center because it was their center. She wanted them to be a part and embrace the center. So it was like, if this is your center, I'm doing this for you to provide the services that you want.
Because I thought because it was all in caps, I thought it was an acronym for something.
No.
It would be good if it was, but
That's right,
yeah, I think that's something. But now, how do people know about your center? I mean, you've been around 18 years.
Right.
And how come I didn't know about it?
You know what? It's very interesting because we do a lot of work in the community, and I think that one of the challenges that we have is maintaining consistent presence in the community. Although we work with the churches, we do a lot of health fairs. I think people don't associate Your Center as a community-based organization. I think they just think that we're a part of another organization or something like that. Or maybe they just look at our executive director because she has a lot of relationships and she's well known in the community. They just think that she's just out there doing work. And they don't associate it with the fact that she has the Your Center is a separate entity. And then also it may be because Your Center originally grew out of a collaboration with Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle. So people may just think that it's Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle Housing Corporation that's doing the work.
But it's not like they would automatically know that these are services from there. That's probably why they all go to the health department. Because they don't know you guys do the same thing. And it would probably be more on a personal level in Your Center versus the health department. You have to go in there and like 500 people lined up staring at you.
And then the beautiful thing about Your Center is that we're actually in the community. Whereas, you know, if you have to go to the health department, they provide great services, but it may be a challenge for some people to get to the health department because they have to go downtown. And then if you're a female and you need to go to the family planning clinic, you have to go all the way out to Burton. Whereas Your Center is right in the community where the heart of the epidemic, and when I say epidemic, I'm talking about HIV, where it's concentrated in the city of Flint.
So your center would be like part of Planned Parenthood. Do you do that kind of service? Like they give out the free condoms and all that. And then you're also part of that. You'd be like services from the health department because you do your testing. And then you would take them to church.
You know what? It's so funny because now that you say that, we are kind of like a one-stop shop. You can come get tested. You can get safer sex education and information. You can get condoms, dental dams, lubricants, and they're all free. And then you can get the case management piece, the mental health piece. I mean, so you can come to Your Center and just kind of get that one-stop shop. The only thing we don't do is actually testing for sexually transmitted infections other than HIV.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you can get 9 out of 10,
I
mean, what's there to fuss about? I'd rather go to one place than to be all over town
trying to get
to get what you need. And a lot of the young people, they would just assume like not use condoms anyway. So if you go there, maybe they feel a little safer or not so out in the public like in the health department setting.
And another thing that Your Center brings to the situation is that we have the time to sit down and actually educate people. Whereas in the health department, they're seeing so many people. They only have like 15 minutes per client. And so you come to Your Center and get tested. We're going to give you all the information that you need and make sure you not only have the condoms, but you know how to use a condom, because it's no good to have the condom if you don't know how to use it. So we make sure that we send our clients away very well informed and very educated.
I like that about that because it is so much stuff going on that people just don't know. And you ever watch any of the reality shows and these guys are like going, "Oh, I got a baby, I got a baby, I got a baby," and somebody else be like, "What? I don't use condoms." And I'm thinking, you just said that on TV?
Oh yes. Right.
What a jerk.
And it's so dangerous because people got to realize that if that person is willing to have unprotected sex with you, they're willing to have unprotected sex with any other people that they're interested in. And then you're having sex with everybody that they've had sex with.
Exactly.
And so, that's something to think about.
I think that's the part that they miss. Because I think some people are still under that influence of, well, you don't look like you got anything. Now, what does it look like?
I was just getting ready to say that. What does it look like? Because you can't tell whether somebody has HIV by looking at them or not. There's no specific, look that goes with that.
Only if you're a meth head and your teeth are jacked up and your face is picked to pieces.
And that's something a little bit different, yes.
So now tell us more about the Red Ribbon Heroes. Who are the heroes? Have you guys picked people out that you will be giving awards to or anything like that?
Actually, yes, we do. We have the categories are we have a faith-based category, and that category really speaks to people or individuals who have worked in the faith community around HIV and AIDS. And our nominee, or actually our honoree, is going to be Pastor George Wilkerson of Word of Life Ministries.
Oh, that's down the street from me.
On Atherton?
Yeah. So they came through our community a couple years ago when they moved over there.
Yeah, he's our honoree, and we're very excited about that. For our Dr. Our Reverend A.J., well, that's the Reverend A.J. Pointer Award. For the Quentin Williams Award, which honors individuals who work a lot with youth around HIV and AIDS, is going to be Raise It Up Youth Awareness with Natasha
Thomas.
Yes. Yeah. And
now, do they know this is a secret and we tell them?
No. They've been sent.
Oh, okay.
They've been sent.
I didn't know it.
No, they've been notified that they will be honored. For our community award, we have Dr. Linda Itzen. Okay. She's going to be honored.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, she works, I believe, with Catholic Charities, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
And then for we have another, I think I can't remember exactly which award Wild Ministries is getting. I think it's a Dr. Reverend A.J. Pointer Award as well, but Wild Ministries, who's headed up by oh my gosh, Kenyatta Dotson.
Okay, I know
will
her.
Be honored. Yes, and I think that's all the
Wild
honorees.
Ministries.
Yes, Wild
that sounds
Ministries.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like she's just out there because I just saw her on the news recently.
Okay.
Yeah, she's doing the thing. She's been on here like when I first started.
Okay.
And that's just an amazing young lady. And I say young because I'm 60. I'm older than everybody.
And then we do actually, I'm sorry, we do have one more award, our honoree, and it goes to Wellness Aid Services for the public in the public health arena in terms of the work that they do around HIV and AIDS and Flint as well.
Now you're part of Wellness, aren't you?
Actually, no, we're not.
But what is it?
But you know what was interesting is that your center actually grew out of a collaboration or collaboration between Wellness Aid Services and Metropolitan Housing Corporation. Our executive director, Bettina, was a clinical director of wellness at the time, and she realized a trend in the city of Flint in terms of that. Unfortunately, wellness had this stigma attached to them that they were only a gay white male agency, that they only worked with gay white men.
Where did you get that from?
I have no idea where that came from, but that was the stigma at the time that was attached to the agency. And so the clinical director, Bettina, she noticed that African Americans were not coming in to get treatment. They had been diagnosed as having HIV, but they weren't coming in to get treatment.
The word on the street was it's for white gays.
Right, right. And so she spoke with the executive director, Rob Bader, at the time. He was the executive director of wellness, and she mentioned her concern. And a long story short is that she reached out to her pastor, or her pastor actually reached out to her at the time and was interested in developing a social service component for Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle. And somehow this collaboration grew and she became the executive director of your center. And so your center was primarily to service the north side of Flint. And so African Americans or black folks were more comfortable coming to your center to get tested for HIV and get their clinical needs met there. And so that's kind of how your center started. That's a little bit of the history. And that was back in 1996.
Wow.
Yeah.
But because the wellness, I know that from somewhere, and I thought that you were part of that. I just talked to somebody that had to do with that wellness program.
Okay.
But I'm glad that there are places that people can go and they're willing to, go and get tested because you can't ever say too much about getting tested. In my book, I mean, you can just talk about it, be like, look, don't play because when people say, I don't want to use a condom, I don't like the way it feels. I mean, they got all kind of commercials that's showing how good they are. I mean, it's like, to me, there's no excuse for people not to use them other than just being ignorant.
Well, you know what, though? What I think part of the problem is, I think that because people have a misconception that because there's so many HIV treatments on the market that it's not as serious as it used to be when it first came out, when there was only one medication back in the 80s and the early 90s.
Magic got AIDS, and back then.
And people are like, well, HIV is not as serious anymore because look at Magic Johnson and so on and so forth. But what people don't understand is how toxic the medications are. Yeah. And people usually die from the medications versus actually dying from HIV because what they've done, in the early 80s and late, the early mid and late 80s and early 90s, when HIV first came out, they only had one medication, AZT, and then over time, they added a whole bunch of other medications, and people would have to take multiple medications multiple times a day. Well, what they've done is they've combined all those medications into one. So that person may have to take one pill or 2 pills a day, but
20 times potent.
Exactly. And so do you really want to live like that? I mean, you can live, but the quality of life is so different.
That's what I would be afraid, because I remember the AZT, and then I was watching shows, and they have like, I take a handful of these, and it's like, I don't even like taking vitamins, let alone, I mean, that's why I never could just take birth control, because I always would forget.
Right.
I mean, so for people that don't like pills, and I don't think there's like a shot for it.
No, and you bring up a good point, because you have to maintain medical adherence. You have to take that medication as prescribed, because if you don't, you can build up an immunity or a resistance to that medication, and there's only so many HIV medications on the market.
And then it's not going to work after that.
Right.
So you're right back at square one.
Out of options. So, that's wwhy it's so important that people wear condoms or just abstain, or something to reduce their risk, because HIV is real, and it's still as deadly as it was back then as it is today.
And it seems like people just don't get that. It's like you say, they think, well, it's not as bad as it used to because you don't hear as much about it, but actually people are talking about it. They're just not listening.
Right, exactly.
And why you think they come up with so many new condoms?
Exactly.
I mean, they have commercials about it. It's always funny when I see Trojan Man. And they got the couple sucked together like this. I'm like,
And you know what, though, even to that point, not just HIV, but we have a resistant strand of gonorrhea that's not responding to antibiotics too, because people are just having sex with people unprotected, and they're reinfecting each other and creating these super strands that antibiotics can't handle.
That just sounds so gross. When they create a super strand of HIV or just regular VD or whatever, when people would go in there and doc be like, look, can't do nothing for you.
Is that something you really want to hear? You have this gonorrhea, but we can't. We don't have anything to treat
it used to be the time where you get a shot, you're all right.
Right.
Now, shot don't just work.
It doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
I just don't understand how people can be so careless with their lives. And then when you bring babies into the world, some of them are infected with something.
Right.
And it was a show I was looking at, and it was about drugs, and this girl had a baby, and she had like gonorrhea in her eyes or something.
The baby?
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that happens?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that.
Yes, it certainly can. If the mother is infected with gonorrhea or any sexually transmitted infection, and she doesn't know it because she hasn't, for whatever reason, been in prenatal care, and if that baby passes through the vagina, whatever's in that vagina can definitely infect the baby. That's why sometimes they give give babies silver nitrate eye drops.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if they knew the mother has gonorrhea, to try to prevent blindness.
Oh.
Yeah, in the baby.
Oh.
Yeah, it's,
That's creepy to me. It just makes me shiver.
There's so much. People don't realize how much of a responsibility sex can be sometimes, especially if you don't know your sex partner. I mean, that 5 minutes is not worth your life.
Right.
It can be life changing.
That's why I like talking to you, because when we start talking about sex, I learn so much.
And I love talking about sex.
That's what I'm talking about. And it's like, I can just sit here all day and be like, more, just because I love to get the education of it. And like, when you turn around, you be able to talk to somebody, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when people just start rambling off the mouth, I can be like, no, that's not right.
That's not right.
I know it's right, because somebody told me that knows that it's right. It's good to be educated in a lot of different things, but with all the young people, being careful and doing all these little nasty dances and stuff, I mean, that kind of stuff drives me crazy, because they post them on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And those that I posted was hilarious. I mean, it's funny, but yet it's like, who videotapes little kids doing all these nasty dances?
Right.
And in the background, cheering them on.
Yeah.
7 years old doing that red nose, whatever that is. Now they'll be pregnant by the time they're 10.
And it's so interesting, because I've started doing puberty educations in the Flint schools, and I teach the 5th graders, and I talk to them all the time. I'm like, what you do today is going to impact your future. So we talk about the music and we talk about the message in the videos, and I try to help them understand that all of this stuff that you're hearing is not necessarily always good. You need to be able to listen to a song and look at a video and determine whether or not it's promoting some type of healthy or negative behavior.
Right.
You know, and I try to help them understand that, you know, you have to start making healthier decisions right now. You have to learn how to communicate, you know, these decisions, because if you don't, you might find yourself in a situation later on in life that you're going to regret. But
then when you got the mamas cheering them on, you know, you want to slap them.
Right. But you know what, the great thing about it, though, is, you know, if they go home and start talking to their parents, maybe their parents will be, you know, like, that's some different information. And if they want to come and ask questions, I welcome that, because, you know, we need to start educating our kids now, because some of the questions that I get asked is
You're
amazing.
Like, where did you get that from?
Right. And so it just speaks to the fact that there is definitely a need in our community to have these conversations about safer sex and just sexuality as a whole. Because sex is just so much more than physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's economical, it's legal, it's social. It is all these things. It's not just, you know, let's just have sex, let's get to it, and that's it.
That's what they do.
Let me come, let me have this orgasm.
That's what
know,
these young
and that
bucks,
is what they do.
That's what they do. And then when the baby pop up, little boy down the street from me, 15, got a baby.
Okay.
My son come home, he's like, oh, that's so and so, he got a baby. I said, how old is that boy? He said 15.
And it's so scary, because having a baby sometimes these days, it almost seems like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like when you go and get into a fight and get a record. Now I'm big and bad, I got a record. That record is gonna follow you forever. Just like that little baby's kids go tag along on your pants leg forever. And the mama too. You know, you're not getting away with that.
Right.
But they forget about all that kind of stuff just at the moment. Gotta get that little whistle wet.
That's all, you know. And so in my presentations, when I'm talking to young people, those are the kind of conversations that I have. I'm like, okay, we've beat it in your head that you can get HIV. We've beat it in your head that you can get sexually transmitted infections. But let's talk about how going to a party and drinking is going to affect your decision makings. Let's look at how low self-esteem and peer pressure is going to affect your decision makings and cause you to do something that you might not normally do because you're trying to fit in. You know, let's talk about how having money and not having money puts you at risk for HIV. So those are the kind of conversations that I'm starting to have to help people understand how your indirect risk and your indirect behavior choices and lifestyle put you at risk for HIV and sexually transmitted infections, because it's so important to understand that, because people don't usually make those connections. Like, if I have low self-esteem, like, how is that going to put me, or if I have too much money, how is that putting me at risk?
Especially when you think of money, because they think that's all it's about. You know, I'll just do anything to make some money.
And when you'll do anything to make some money, you might put yourself at risk, because that's all you care about. You're not worried about asking this person, how many people have you had sex with? When was the last time you got tested for HIV? Did you go back and get your results? That's the important question. What were they?
You know? The results. They might go in and do a then chicken out. Nah, man, I know I'm good. That
happens all the time. Out of 10 people I test, maybe one might come back and get their results, and it's nothing I can do about it, because I'm bounded by confidentiality, and I ain't trying to lose my job. Even if I know.
You can't do anything.
No.
So do you have kids, like, I mean, do they have to be a certain age where they sign off, like if they need a guardian to do it, or can a certain age come in and because they're a minor, you know, they can still be tested, but it's like you just can't say anything? Or, I mean, how does it work?
I believe in the state of Michigan, I believe that they have to be at least 13 years or older to come in and get tested for HIV without a parent. And anytime anybody comes into my office to get tested, it's confidential. Anonymous. Not confidential, but it's anonymous, which means I don't have any information. I just give them a number. And when they come back in, or they can call in and get their results. But I usually encourage people to come back in and get their results. They just have to give me that number. If they lose that number, there's nothing that I can do about it. So I really encourage people to keep this number, put it someplace where you know you're not going to lose it, and come back in and get those results, because it's so important to know. A lot of people don't want to know, but you need to know.
I think they get afraid after they've done the test. Then they get afraid.
It's a scary thing.
It
can be a scary thing, because when I've taken HIV tests, you know, your whole life flashes before, like, what did I do? And I would know intellectually that I haven't put myself at risk. I would know that, but still, it's just a thought of, oh my gosh, waiting for that test result to come back, because at your center we still do an oral swab. We swab the lining of the jaw. We don't do the rapid testing at like the health department and wellness. They do the rapid testing, the 20-minute testing.
What is that?
The rapid testing is a 20-minute test, HIV test. You get a finger prick, and then in 20 minutes, I can't do that. It's a small needle, but in 20 minutes they're able to give you a preliminary test results. So I like to tell people, if you do get a rapid testing, it's only preliminary. And if it comes back positive, they still have to do a regular or short testing or blood draw to actually determine and confirm the test. But if it's negative, in most cases, it's an accurate result.
So now, what about if does it lay dormant? Like, say you go in and you do the test and now you're negative, and like you go in a couple months later and it's positive.
Absolutely, because HIV, it happens in like stages, so to speak. So the first stage is called the initial onset, right? And that's the time of infection to detection, and that's about 25 days. So to your point, if I go out and have sex tonight and I think I put myself at risk, I can't come in the office tomorrow and say, oh my God, I need an HIV test, because it's going to take at least 25 days for HIV antibodies to build up in a bloodstream before it can show up on a test. So that, and that's the one concern I have, especially with HIV home tests, because if a person is not knowledgeable about HIV. There is a home test.
Now, there should not be it's not like a pregnancy test.
I agree with you. A person can do the swab and send it into the laboratory, call in later and get their results. But my problem with that is just what you said. If you don't know about HIV, you might be in that initial onset or that window period. In the 25 days, and you get tested, it comes back, it's like you're negative.
You out to throw it down.
Exactly. And not only that, when you do the home testing, you don't really get the counseling component that comes with the pre-test and the post-test that a certified HIV test counselor for the state of Michigan will give you when you come in to get tested. So I do not at all advocate.
I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, they do. I get asked that question all the time, and I don't advocate.
And they probably, the people that take it are the ones that are afraid to go in, because say I come in and you know who I am. Even though you can't say anything, you know who I am, but they take the test at home, it's like a pregnancy test. I just go home, do the thing, nobody ever knows.
Right, and that, and on one hand, I can see how that could be useful, but the implications are still dangerous, because what if that test comes back positive and you get that call on that phone? You don't have a support, you don't have anyone to talk you kind of off the ledge, so to speak, and you don't have anyone to let you know that there is life beyond that. And even if you do come into my office and I know your face, I'm still bounded by confidentiality. You come into a non-judgmental and a non-threatening environment. My job is to provide you with information, not to judge you. My job is to keep you safe. I tell people when I go out to presentations, I don't care what you're doing, how you doing it, where you doing it, or what position you doing it in. My job is to give you the information and the skills to keep you safe. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. That is all I care about.
You hump like rabbits. Just be safe at it.
If that's your choice, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I would like to go into one of the church events just to see the expressions on the people's face, because I know you had posted a picture of you when you did the one church thing, and because a lot of the older people there, were back in the day when you don't talk about sex and everything, and I just would like to see their expressions when you get up there and start talking.
Some of it's priceless, but by the time I finish talking, they're like, oh, please come back, because one of the things that we do in the church, we do a 4-week skills building session. We talk about, and this is primarily with the youth, we talk about HIV, of course, we talk about the reproductive system, because a lot of them don't get that information, they don't know it, and you have to understand that's what you're putting at risk. And we do communication skills, decision making, how to say no, and even when we talk about abstinence, because some churches only want us to focus and talk about abstinence, okay, what is abstinence and how do you do that? Because a lot of times it's like, just be abstinent, but then there's no follow-up conversation on how you do that.
They're just saying, don't do it.
But okay, how do I not do it? What do I say when I have the life's pressures on my shoulder telling me to do it? How do I do that? And then we talk about how HIV is a public health issue. While it may be moral a little bit, it's still a public health issue that's killing our community. And then we do a pre and post test with the young people, and what we found over the last few years is that I want to say 67% or 57% of the youth that we survey have admitted to having sex under the influence of some substance. And this was 13 to 17-year-olds. These are our babies in the church. You think you don't need to talk about sex in the church? Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Because they at the party store buying them little blunt things. Getting turned up, as they say.
Exactly. So, if you don't want the world educating your young people about sex, then you need to talk about sex too. The church is supposed to be a place where people can come to get healed.
Yeah.
from all issues.
Yeah, a lot of them won't talk about it because they're like, I don't want you talking to my baby about that, and somebody needs to.
Right. Because if not, they're going to get the wrong information. So you might as well oversee what information that they're going to get.
Little boys will tell you.
They'll tell you something. I don't know if it's accurate.
That's what I'm saying. They'll tell you anything to drop them. You know, they be like, oh, baby girl, you know, I got your back. You know, don't listen to that. And next thing you know, they fell into it. And then a few months later, they got a baby bump.
Right.
And
are you ready for that?
At 13.
And are you ready for that as a young woman or as a young man? Or are you ready after he hit it? Now he's in the hallway talking to your best friend.
The next one.
Are you ready for that?
Because you know what's going to happen. Your mom's going to end up paying for it. She's going to be babysitting and taking care of another kid.
Exactly. So those are the types of conversations that I love to have with young people. And by the time we're finished, they're like, I never thought about that. Oh, yeah.
They have to, and do you get to go like rough on them, or do you pamper them?
I don't pamper. When I talk about sex, I don't pamper. The only, like I said, if they ask me to be more abstinent and focused, I will be more abstinent and focused. If they say don't do a condom demonstration, I won't do a condom demonstration. I'd be real respectful of their the specific doctrine of the church, because that's what we work within their denominational doctrine. But if they say tomorrow, give it all you got, I'm gonna give it all I got, because they need to know.
Right.
They need to know. And I like to use the analogy, you know, when we get cars, we get car insurance, right? But we don't think that we're going to get into an accident. We don't do it on purpose. But just in case we do, we have that policy in place. And sex education, comprehensive sex education, is the same thing. You know, just in case they find themselves in a situation that they can't negotiate.
Right.
You know, they have that policy in place, that information, that skills in place to be able to protect themselves.
Right.
You know?
And that's a good analogy, because all the kids want a car. When I turned 16, I was in the car.
Right, and can't drive.
Can't drive. But, you know, some little boy roll up on you, be trying to have sex with him.
And sometimes sex happens in the car.
Exactly, in that new car I just bought you.
I love it.
Oh, my goodness. So now you have a second event that's coming up. Let's talk a little bit about that one.
Yes, this event is called the Young Faces of HIV, What If It Were You? And it's geared towards youth ages 13 and up. We're going to have food, games, and prizes. And really, we're going to kind of have the conversations about sexuality, just like we're having here today. And we're doing this workshop in honor of World AIDS Day as well. And it's in conjunction with Wild Ministries, Kenyatta Dotson. And we just want all youth ages 13 and up to come out and have a good time. Come prepared to get some information and ask your questions, because it's going to be a safe space for that. It's going to be November 22nd at Wild Ministries, which is at 643 Austin Street. And it's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. And this workshop will also be facilitated by your center sexperts, which are peer health educators that are in high school. So they're going to actually facilitate this workshop.
Okay, so this will be something just for the young people.
Yes.
So do you think this is something you're going to have parents there, or is it just young people?
We just want young people, because we want them to feel safe.
Right, because sometimes they can't talk in front of their parents.
Right.
They be like, you know, but they really want to ask questions and talk about experiences that they've already had. Parents probably don't even know.
Oh my gosh, have no idea.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I was telling somebody the other day when they, you know, they're like, you know, I always say, don't ever say not my child, because as a mom myself, you know, you learn.
Right.
Don't ever say that, because when they're not around you, you don't know what they're doing.
That's right. Only thing you can do is give them the best information that you have and pray that they listen to it and that foundation is set.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do.
When they're not in your sight, they act crazy. I love to like roll up on my son when he's I just love it. I mean, he's a good kid and everything, but it's always funny when, like, if he's around the neighborhood, riding with his buddies or whatever, they riding their bikes and you know, he never know when I'm gonna pop up.
That's good.
And I just think it's hilarious, because I'll text him or something. I'll say, "Where are you?" "Oh, I'm at so and so's house." I'm like, "Okay." Next thing you know, I'm rolling past the house. Real slow, like,
that's right.
You know,
that's right.
And then other times I just whip up in the driveway. How y'all doing? You know,
you're like, I know. That's right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I mean, you never know what kids gonna do. You never know what peer pressure is gonna make you do or want to do. And then you bring some of that attitude back home. You about to get busted up.
No, that's right.
I'm not having it. No,
right.
You keep that mess in the street. And like you said, when the kids this age was 13 and up, they come in and they want to talk about this stuff, but they're afraid to talk about it at home, or maybe some of their friends have told them stuff and they want to ask somebody. Well, you know, my friend told me you can't get A's like that, or you have to be doing it in a certain position, you know, and this is what they're thinking. So when they're out doing it, they're not going to do it in that position, because that's the one that's going to get A's. Right, yeah. And then they come and talk, they be like, oh, snap, you know. It has to be an eye-opener. And to actually, I think that would be such a good class for some of the kids in my neighborhood, especially some of them little roughneck boys, but keep them separate from the girls.
You know what? No. I don't think we should separate them. You know why? Because when we separate, I just had this discussion with somebody the other day, when we separate the young boys from the young girls, it teaches them unconsciously that sex is something that needs to be shared only with girls. You know, I should only talk about this with girls. I should only talk about this with boys. And it further stigmatize sexuality, which is part of the problem that we have in the United States, is that, you know, sex is something dirty, it's something bad, it's something secretive. And we want to move away from that and normalize sexuality and create sex positive conversations. In addition to the fact that when they get older, and even now, they're having conversations with young men and young women anyway, so they need to have those conversations together so that they can learn how to talk to each other. They can learn the same information, because young women need to learn information that young men know, and young men need to learn, you know, information that young women know, and they both need to hear each other have that dialogue so they can start to have healthier conversations and ideas and thoughts about sexuality.
I would like to hear what young guys and girls talk about these days when it come down to actually getting ready to have sex. I mean, I would like to hear that conversation, because when I was a teenager, like, my mom had me at 15. Okay. So she thought that, well, you know, you fast, you know, you're going to be pregnant by the time you got 15. Well, I saw all this stuff going around, people having kids, and when I was in high school, 7th graders was having kids. I was running the other way. Yeah. She had put the fear of God in me, because she kept saying, I am not raising no baby, ain't no baby coming up in here. So my motto was, ain't no baby coming out of here. Right, you know? Right. So now the kids they're free to act a certain way. You know, the guys' pants hanging down, the girls wear stuff too tight, too cut. You know, it's just like showing everything. But I would like to know, what is the conversation that would make you get with me at that age with no protection, and now I'm pregnant?
You know what I think is a lot. It has to do with just a shift in society, with young girls getting pregnant at 13. You know, they're not adult. They don't have the skills and the knowledge themselves to raise a child in a different manner. And so I think it's just that generational cycle that's passed down, you know, and we don't have grandmothers. Grandmothers are now younger, and they still are out and, you know, having fun doing what they want to do, so they really haven't had an opportunity to really instill different values into their children, and the cycle perpetuates and continues. So I think that's part of it, not the total sum of it, but that's part of it. And then just, again, that peer pressure. And because we took comprehensive sex education out of the school years ago, who's left to educate our children but the music community. Videos, you know, the rap songs, the heavy metal songs, just songs and media, period. And then the social media like Facebook, you know, you have some kids that are 9 and 10 on Facebook, and Facebook's supposed to be for people who are 18 and up.
I thought so too, because when I first got on Facebook, like, it took me a long time to allow my son to get on Facebook, and then when I got on there, I started monitoring and watching everything, and I was so surprised at how many people so young are on Facebook, and then posting videos of half naked and throwing all this kind of stuff out at people, and I'm just like, how old is that kid? And who is not monitoring these kids? You know, they need to get them cell phones away from them with video
and pictures.
Take off. Just give them a stripped down phone. It needs to call in and call out.
And that's part of the problem. Technology is one of the greatest things, but it's also one of the dangerous things.
It's a bad thing when it's not monitored
properly. And you know, we were just having a conversation not too long ago that, as I think Americans in particularly, we are over-sexualized and under-educated.
I agree with that totally, because when I see some of those videos of the kids doing stuff on there, I just be like, oh my God, I would never do that. And now you can actually post it so everybody can see it. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram. I don't even know how to use Instagram. Certain ones I don't even know. But everybody does it. And I'm thinking, how these kids get these iPhones and stuff? Don't they cost a lot of money?
Yeah, they do.
How do they get those? I got a Metro PCS. And here these kids got, $200-$300 phones.
Yeah.
And what? And then when they're like, oh, when my baby's born, he's going to wear Gucci and Prada and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking,
it's a shift in value systems, a breakdown in the family structure. And it's just, they don't understand. Like when I was growing up, we knew the music videos were entertainment. That wasn't a lifestyle that we strive to have.
Yeah.
Now it's like, that is a lifestyle. That's the only lifestyle. And you better have this lifestyle, because if you don't, you're a crap. You're nothing.
You don't fit in.
Yeah.
And so, see, when I was growing up, there weren't videos. Okay. We was watching American Bandstand and Soul Train. That's what we saw. I mean, there were no videos. We saw the Beatles and, all them places, in black and white TV. I mean, that's where you learn where real music came from.
Yeah.
And then as it progressed and you started seeing people making videos, and then next thing, butts clapping all over the
place.
Oh, my goodness. I don't even watch videos like that, because most of them, there are naked girls in them, and it's like, what? And then guys throwing money and... Oh, I just get so tired of it. I don't even watch it.
It can be frustrating. So that's what, one of my missions is, to kind of normalize conversations of healthier sexuality in the community, but to also look at, especially for black women, taking our image back into society. Why have we allowed ourselves to become this sexualized image?
Just throw money at me,
and that's okay, and that's acceptable. And the problem that I have with that is that for people who don't interact with black folks on a daily basis, what they see on TV is what they think we are.
Exactly.
And that's how we're treated when we're out in public, regardless. You know.
And I'm not even like that
at all.
That's what I saw on TV.
And if that's their only exposure to black culture, or to culture, especially out of the country, American culture, then that's how they view us. And so, there has to be some type of shift, some type of movement where we say, what, enough is enough.
That's what I think about when you see the subdivision split up. All the white people have moved over here now because the black people moved in. I mean, you're not getting to know us because you're thinking that we're this way, and if you don't know, or she'll say, well, I got a black friend.
Right, but okay, all black folks are not
alike. They're just like, all white people are not alike.
Exactly.
But then they put us in that little bag, and it's like, oh yeah, they butt shakers, rump shakers, and money throwers,
and then we wonder why we receive such disrespect, because we in some ways have allowed that.
Allow it. Men love to call women bitches.
Oh yeah,
that's my bad bitch over there.
And we love to say, when I say we, some women within, and I'm his bad bitch, and they think that that's acceptable. They think that's appropriate. They think it's cute.
Yeah. I hate when I hate that word. I hate it. And when I see people be like, yeah, girl, that's my bitch, or you a bad bitch, or this and that, I hate that word. It's not a good word. So, and like when I don't like the word diva, because it's a bad connotation.
Right.
I'm a diva. Do you know what diva means?
Right.
No, you don't want to be a diva. I told my sister one time, she was like, oh yeah, I'm a diva. I said, no, you don't want to be a diva. Yeah. Well, you know what it means. I said, yeah, I know what it means, but I don't think you know what it means.
Right.
Because it's a bad connotation. You don't want that. And now the young girls and everything, it's just such a mess. It's just a mess. Maybe you want to just wipe it all out and start over.
It is. You know what? And I'm not saying it's easy, but that's one of my life's mission, to really just help us take back and reclaim our images in society. Because there's nothing wrong with being a sexual being, but just this overtly sexual being that's out of control.
You might as well be walking around naked the way some of the girls dress.
And speaking of that, I went to a Halloween party at one of the nightclubs in Flint, and I'm not going to say which one. And it was actually an after Halloween party, and I might be saying it by just saying that. But anyway, some of the costumes they weren't even costumes, they were lingerie. I'm talking about bra and panties, thongs, and
butt cheeks hanging out, boobs all.
And then you want to know why you're being disrespected. Now, I'm not suggesting by any means that a woman needs to be disrespected by what she wears. But at the same time, you need to be considerate of what message you may be sending when you get dressed.
Well, and that's the thing, when people get mad if you stare at them. What you looking at? Well, you're half naked.
Right.
I can't help but look.
Right.
See, I just don't understand it, because I went to a Halloween party once, and there was some girls dressed real skimpy, and they had the wrong body type. That was funny as hell. Because I just was like, oh.
Yeah, but I mean, we just really need to, especially in our community, just really need to have these conversations. All communities need to have them, don't get me wrong.
We need to multiply you and spread you around, because you have the word, and people need to listen.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like they need to read your book, Life, And then they need to just like sit and talk to you sometime, because people would be surprised at the information they get. Like the stuff I learned for the couple of times we talk, it's just like amazing. It's like some stuff you just don't know.
Thank you.
And you just, they just pour it out there, and it's there for people to take. Yeah. But some people just don't want to take it.
Some people, you know what, and that's okay, because I'm here when they're ready.
Right.
I am here when they're ready, because I've realized over the years in doing this work, some people are just not ready for your message, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But when you are, I'm here. Mm-hmm. I'm here because, I'm not going to force feed you. I'm not going to judge you, but I'm going to lovingly nudge you along to get you to where you need to be. Not where I want you to be, but where you need to be.
That's one of the things in your book, and how you talk about how you help people get to that point because they're really not ready. Mm-hmm. And they're the only ones can do it.
That's
really, you can't make them.
That's
you can show them. It's like leading a horse to water.
Absolutely.
But make them drink.
and not only that, if you're doing something for me, then you're not going to sustain that behavior change because you're not ready.
Right.
Just like my dad told me when I was, leaving and this story is in my book, when I was getting ready to leave my ex-husband, he said, Tamara, don't you leave that man until you are ready to leave him, because if not, you'll be right back the same situation with him or with another man, because you weren't ready to make that change. You weren't ready to do the work. Right. So, you have to be ready.
Yeah. That's why I said I really, that hit note with me, because when I left, I knew I was ready and it was time to go.
And it wasn't no looking back.
No,
when you're ready, you know when you're ready.
You know when you're ready, and now it's time to go, and nobody's going to tell me any different. See you later.
Exactly. And that's...
Preach.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's been wonderful having you back in today. So tell us the 2 events and the dates and times again.
Okay.
So everybody will know. Make sure they come out.
All right. The first event, again, both events are in honor of World AIDS Day. And the first event is going to be Friday, November 22nd at 6:30 p.m. at Wow Ministries, 643 Austin Street, and that's here in Flint. Mm-hmm. And this is for youth ages 13 and up. It will be food, games, and prizes, and it's called The Young Faces of HIV, What If It Were You? And it's just a comprehensive conversation and discussion, about sexuality and relationships and how they impact young people now and moving forward into their futures. Okay. And then the second event is the event that we're hosting in conjunction with Monday Manna, and this is our annual event fundraiser for your center. It's called Red Ribbon Heroes. It's going to be December 6th at the Kiva Theater. It's going to start at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have a wonderful show lined up. We're going to have spoken word by Stan the Man. Our experts are doing monologues, and we have some other activities. Our Monday Man is going to do their awesome skit. So you have to come out and support this event again at the Kiva Theater. And the donations are $10. And even if you don't want to come to the event, you can still make a donation. Right. We're accepting program ads. So just contact me, and I can give you more information if you're interested in just making a donation, purchasing a ticket, or a program ad.
Okay. And tell everybody how you can be contacted.
You can contact me at your center at G3500 Flushing Road in Suite 220, and that's here in Flint. Or you can call the office at area code 810-789-8637, and we have a website, and it's www.yc4w.org.
Okay. Well, I thank you for coming in. It's been such a pleasure having you, and every time you have a big event or something, just think of me if you want to come on. Flaminpit Show will welcome you. Okay. And so saying that's Flaminpit Part 2. We're going to sign off for today, and we'll see you later.